Shooters Connection offers products for competition shooters by competition shooters. With over 80 years of combined competition shooting experience, Shooters Connection is staffed by master and grandmaster shooters who live the shooting sports every day. We offer same-day shipping. Shooters Connection also sponsors over 100 of your matches every single year. So when it comes to finding everything you need to compete as a beginner or a seasoned grandmaster, Shooters Connection is the only name you need to know. Online at shootersconnectionstore.com.
Keep going, Potato.
Oh, it's you.
We are here with the Hit Factor podcast. Potato, as you can hear, is with us. And Mr. Jeffrey Cawthon is here as well. So it's good to be back. Hopefully this one, I think we got some people a little bit discouraged with our last podcast. That was not our intention.
And to be fair, I did listen back to it after the one dude said I was everything wrong with politics in the world. And
No. You were everything that's wrong with the world.
Yeah,
like the downfall of the world.
Yeah.
No, you said politics. This is politics. The downfall of the world.
I said politics and the world.
Oh, and the world. Okay.
Yeah, but I did listen back to it, and I will say, I sounded a little more like negative than I was actually feeling. So I don't know how I accomplished that, but it's not all doom and gloom, right? Anyway. I sounded much more negative than I was feeling. So anyway, continue.
Oh, I mean, the guy hit it right on the head. Like if Jeff is the reason for the downfall of this country, as we see it in a spiral down, like Jeff is absolutely the cause of that, which is great because it's now kind of it's at least a Discord meme. It's not really a meme yet, but it is kind of that. Like if something's wrong with USPSA, like why did Ben Steger do this? If there's something that's wrong just with the world at large, if it escalates beyond USPSA, it's why did Jeff do this? And so I really appreciate that we have somebody like, sometimes it's a unifying thing, right? Like if everybody can just have somebody to kind of hate and blame stuff on, then like it can unify people. So
that's so true.
Jeff can be that person for us, I think.
Yeah. I took the place of the thanks Obama trend.
Yeah. Oh, so much worse than Obama, or even Let's Go Brandon. I think this is beyond the Let's Go Brandon thing, right? Like it's,
that was pretty incredible.
I did see a post I saw a post on a forum somewhere where people were lamenting the state of USPSA, and they said even the last Hit Factor podcast they got into it, and those guys normally never get into it. I thought, thanks, Jeff.
What's great is there really hasn't been a whole lot of. I was just thinking, like, I kind of feel good about USPSA right now. Why is that? Oh, the board really hasn't done much of anything since the last time we recorded.
2 reasons. Because you shot a match, and that usually like excites you a little bit, so you get some positive feelings. And we haven't heard any politics, right? So it's like spirits are high this evening. We'll see where this goes.
Oh man, so high. So we did shoot a match, all 3 of us, Western States single stack. Everybody should shoot that match. They should sell out every year.
It's a great match.
It's
phenomenal. They do a great job with that.
Yeah, really great. You get to go to Arizona in the middle of the winter, which is great. Nobody's tuned up. Like everybody does comical things, which is funny and entertaining. And so it's fun. I will say that you should learn from Jeff and I in that typically this match happens. I kind of really wasn't paying attention to this. It happens around spring training. And so when that's going on in Arizona, if you're trying to get a hotel like the night of or the day of, they're really expensive. Like they cost a lot. And even the really crappy ones cost a lot. So if you want to come to Western States, I would recommend booking a hotel in advance, and maybe you can avoid some of that. I can safely say do not stay at the Travel Inn in Mesa, Arizona, unless if you like sleeping on other people's blood and other fluids, You could stay there if that's something that you like. I would also not really recommend the Quality Inn in Mesa. It's not quite as bad as the Travel Inn, but
Okay, if we had gone to the Quality Inn first, like we probably would have just been like, yeah, it's not super clean, but it's not that bad. But after already have been to 2 other rooms and it was like made you want to crawl out of your skin, then yeah, we were like really ready for a nice room.
yeah. So we played a bit.
You guys don't like the rooms that come with scabies and bed bugs?
No, Jeff might, but no, we try to avoid those. So yeah, I mean, hotel rooms just for us are just when we've done Airbnbs, like we've hit those really well. Any sort of hotels, Jeff and I just kind of we don't do great with hotels. It's makes for good stories, I guess, but or maybe not good stories.
What's crazy is like we'll go to Airbnb and we'll like spend a decent amount of money. But if we get a hotel, we try to get a really cheap hotel.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, I feel like Airbnb, like you're trying to get your money's worth, like because you're gonna hang out there more. Whereas a hotel, it's like I just need a place to sleep. And these even like the Travel Inn was still $200 a night with all of that stuff. The Quality Inn was $240 a night. So
that
like
nuts.
They weren't like these weren't like $60 hotels. They should have been $40 hotels at best, but they were charging insane amounts of money. We bummed a couch for our last night there, and which had its own ramifications, but we were very happy to have that couch. Okay, so Western States, Potato, like this is your first like real match shooting single stack. Is this your first time shooting in Arizona?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so first time.
Well, I mean, I've shot in Arizona, but not at a match. I've just gone out into the desert and shot.
Yeah, so hadn't probably been to Rio before and all that. So what are your impressions of? Let's just take like your impressions of shooting single stack major, just kind of like the platform.
It's like better than standing in my kitchen and whacking my big toe with a ball peen hammer, but not much better. It's honestly, it was a ton of fun. I won't go into great detail, but I had so little confidence in what I was doing that I counted. There's 38 seconds of that match that I spent looking at targets to see where the holes were before moving on to the next target.
That's a lot.
I did not spend any time sort of calling shots off of my sights. I shot, looked at the target. If I didn't like the holes, shot it again. Not a great way to shoot in general. I wouldn't advocate that for anyone listening. No, I mean, I'm being a little bit silly. It's a ton of fun. It's really challenging. This match is set up for single stack major. It's designed for it. It's thoughtfully designed for it in ways that really punish errors. I think the biggest challenge for me shooting single stack major is how quickly one error was compounded with subsequent errors. Mm-hmm. And the people who are better at the division, which is you two and most of the people on the squad we were shooting with, but not everyone, but most of the people on the squad we were shooting with, when they would make one error, barring like it being a dummy round or something that snuck into their mag, when they would make one error, they would really quickly get back on plan. And so I watched a lot of people, or even make 2 or 3 errors in the stage with a relatively small cost, because there's sort of corrections that you do, whether it's cleaning up shots or an extra reload, and you just sort of get back on plan very quickly. And I'm coming from divisions where you make mistakes quickly, but the correction is just a makeup shot. That's the beginning and the end of the correction. Yeah, because you just send another round. And that's a very different approach, and it lets you sort of be sloppier with things that single stack very much punishes. Like exits and entries, like a sloppy exit with single stack is murder, because now you have to go back to the position and reload again.
Yeah.
So I mean, I found that fascinating, very, very challenging, and I was not appropriately or adequately prepared for it. I don't really know how to use iron sights, which is its own thing, but yeah, it was a ton of fun. I can see
I
why
mean,
people do it. It's really hard.
your range is under snow and ice most of the
Ice.
time this time of year. So yeah, kind of hard to
So
be
I shot
prepared for it.
indoors, and I can't use iron sights indoors. I just don't get
Yeah.
enough contrast to know what's happening.
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough trying to shoot indoors with iron sights. That's not easy unless they have really great lighting.
Our
Yeah, I mean,
Quonset hut does not.
the Quonset. I mean, I think that's all pretty true of the division. It's somewhat why it's a cool division, because like it's very demanding. I mean, like, it's from a recoil standpoint, it's the hardest gun. Well, not, let's put a revolver aside. Like, it's a skinny gun. You got to shoot major out of it. Like, it's the hardest one to control from a recoil standpoint. And then under all that, you don't have a whole lot of rounds.
Mm.
But you can still do some really like, but if executed well, like, your stages can still be really, really fast, very quick, very efficient, right? It's just you have to put.
It doesn't
more
look
stuff
like
together.
revolver. It
Right.
doesn't shoot like revolver. It shoots like every other auto loader.
Right.
It just takes an incredible degree of skill to walk through a stage like that.
Yeah. Yeah. There's just compounding errors that can happen, and they're just like, they're waiting for you. Like, you can be halfway through a stage, like, you're going good, and then just all of a sudden, oh crap, something just happened, and you're just toast. So yeah, no, that's good. Jeff, your first time in Rio, first time
Mhm.
shooting there. What did you think of the facilities and just the match in general?
I would get lost there very easily at that range. I don't really know. Like, Potato probably has it mapped out in his head.
No, he
Like-
doesn't. He has no idea what it looks like in his head.
I have no idea what it looks like, but I can get you to anywhere you want to go.
Exactly. Yeah, I have no idea, like, how you navigate that range still. But it was very cool. It was very cool with all the cactus. Those were awesome. And yeah, it kind of gave me cameo vibes, just the terrain and whatnot.
Oh yeah,
Minus the cactus, you know.
yeah.
But yeah, it was super cool, super great weather. I actually thought the match, it was run good. I thought the match, like the shooting, was actually super forgiving at this match. As
Okay.
opposed to a lot of the other matches that was shot with single stack. Like, generally, you see a lot more positions where you're probably gonna have to shoot to 9, right? Or you could just be shooting slide lock loads for a whole stage. So, from like someone who shot single stack a lot, this was like one of the most breathe easy single stack matches that I've shot, I think. Like, generally, I have to think about it a lot harder.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I would have called it like breathe easy. I think over 50% of the targets were partialed, with a bunch of mini poppers. So I wouldn't call it breathe easy, but from a stage planning standpoint, it wasn't. You weren't necessarily trying to, other than a couple of stages, you weren't trying to, hey, can I pick one target that to shoot with a magazine that really shouldn't be shot here, but I need to do it for a round count issue later. You weren't doing a whole lot of that, which was good. So, and yeah, not a ton of planned slide lock loads. That's
And
so
except
I
in
agree with that.
standards, not really far shots.
Nope. No, I mean they don't. You know, there were some like 20-yard minis. There was some stuff.
Yes, farther steel than paper for the most part.
Yeah. I mean, I think there was enough that was partialed up that yeah, you couldn't just go crazy, but it also wasn't like nationals in Ohio for Iron Sight Nationals this last year. So yeah, I thought it was good. And I mean, from my perspective, had I been shooting limited, or had you been shooting carry optics, or somebody shooting open, still would have been a great match in another division. I don't think there would have been a need to make any sort of big changes to it to make it a good match for those divisions either. That's just my opinion.
I think you're right. I mean, I think there were well designed stages. Too many mirrored stages for me, and too many
Yeah.
sort of U-shaped with like the same kind of retreating reload. Like a lot of those. But
Yeah,
that's okay, right? Like matches end up with a flavor, and that's okay. Like if that's my biggest complaint, it's a pretty well designed match.
yeah, I thought the stages were good, and I do agree that there were a lot of rearward awkward. It was like if they could take a shooting position and just make it awkward, they were going to do everything they could to make it awkward, right? I thought there was a lot of that, but that's part of it. That's kind of part of Rio, or just the stages that you kind of see out there. Maybe that's kind of more Muneki. I think Muneki. Probably shouldn't say that. I think Muneki did most of the stages.
So do you think a similar flavor for IPSC Nationals, that it'll have a Rio flavor?
You know, I asked. I won't say who I asked this. I asked her that. And
well, now there's 3 people. Carry on.
Yeah,
really
exactly.
I
asked
and she
her
listened, so that's good.
Yes,
Hi.
yes, she'll know. I asked her that, and she was like, "Well, what does that mean? What is a Rio flavor?" Because there's so many clubs. There's like 4 different clubs that are extremely active, and they all each have kind of their own flavor, right? And so I was like, "Well, is this going to be more of a Rio match, or is this going to be more of kind of like IPSC style?" She's like, "Well, what does that mean?" It's like, well, what we just shot, I would say, is typical of most of the matches I've shot at Rio. Like a lot of partials, usually not a ton of distance, but also they're not a slave to a round count or anything like that. Appropriate amounts of movement, right? Like you didn't feel like you were doing a ton of standing, didn't feel like you're doing just a crazy amount of moving. So they were good stages, but just I don't really even know how to explain it other than IPSC. Like typically you don't see all the partial targets, right? Typical IPSC flavor is much more open, and obviously lower round count because you're 3-2-1 ratio, and it's more of a stand and shoot, not stand and shoot, but it's just I don't know. I'm doing a really poor job of explaining. I don't really know how to put it in words necessarily. But there's a different flavor in IPSC and what we just shot at Rio.
Was this representative of past Western states? Would you say they're sort of continuous?
Yeah, I would say so. I would say the ones that I've shot. I shot it last year, and then it had been probably 3 or 4 years before that I hadn't shot it. But I've shot it probably 4 or 5 times now. And yeah, I think that's probably pretty typical of what you see. There.
Will you plan to come back, Jeff?
If I can, yeah. I mean, I've wanted to shoot this match for a long time. It's just always, so it's early in the year, and it's out west. It's kind of a long ways away, but Jeremy got us there. It was good. I'm glad I got to go. I've been wanting to go for a long time, just because the sheer number of people that shoot it. I mean, there's more heat at that match than nationals, so it's an awesome match for single stack. Yeah, the depth of field was crazy, and I feel like it was maybe deeper this year than it was the previous year. But the depth of field is really good. I wish it was more of a March match. Like I really wish like you had kind of maybe 3rd week of March is when it was. And I'm sure they have something else that's scheduled and planned in this kind of when this is Western States has kind of always been there, except for the one weird year where Area 2 was in February. But anyway. Yeah.
So I wish it was March. I think that would be cooler.
Yeah.
Kind of give more people in colder climates a chance
Yeah.
To train more. But
Oh, I do have a critique while we're talking things that we wish. Um, so they did the prizes a little weird at this match, right? Right?
yeah,
So they essentially separate the winner from the prizes. So it's like the winner is their own, like they get high overall winner of the match, and then they start uh the placings, right? So if the
So
winner
you were second GM, right?
Yeah. So if the winner is probably going to be a grandmaster, right? And then they do placings for grandmaster. They do this rather than doing a podium. So they don't do like a first, second, third overall. They just do like winner overall, and then they start from there. So second place overall got first place grandmaster.
Bob Crow.
Yeah, Bob Crow. And then there was actually an M class guy that beat me, which was
Paul Clark Jr., who got first M.
Yeah, got first M and third place overall. And I got fourth place overall and second. I got the trophy
GM.
for. I got the trophy for second place grandmaster. That's what my trophy says. And I wasn't second place in anything. I was fourth place overall, and I was third place grandmaster. So it just makes zero sense to me. And I'm not mad about it. It just makes absolutely zero sense for me to walk away with a mug that says second place grandmaster. That wasn't at all what I got at that match. So it's just weird. It's weird to me. So they might not fix it. As far as I know, they've done it that way for a long time, so I don't expect them to change it, but I think it's really weird.
Which would make Jeremy fourth grandmaster?
No. I don't think so.
Yes. Because
That's
there's
just
another M in
embarrassing.
front of you, and Paul Clark Jr. in front of you. Yeah.
I'm glad they didn't go to fourth GM.
I think we
Yeah,
should start recognizing fourth GM.
I mean, I think if we're gonna recognize classes, that's fine. But once you're GM, you can't win a class. Like class awards are over, right? Like once you're like, because winning a class is somewhat that is for the people not competing to win the match, right? Like that's why we have the class wins, because we want to recognize people that are competing against similar skill sets. Mm-hmm. So we'll recognize them. That's fine.
And there should be a class win trophy at any match this large. And so if you win B class, congratulations, you're A class. That's your trophy.
Right.
Every single one, right? You win C class at Western States, congratulations, you're B class. Like everybody clap because you're not B class, right? Like there's 209 shooters there. There's 40 of them were in C class. If you win that, you're not C class.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. But if you're going to award the classes, that's cool. But GM should not be you shouldn't win anything based on GM. Like once you're GM, it's just where did you finish in the match?
This is why we need distinguished grandmasters so that it can be.
Then we can recognize. Then Jeff could be second. No, would he still?
Yeah, he'd be second GM.
Oh yeah, he still would have been second GM if there was a distinguished master.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, that's kind of strange. The only to me the thing that's strange that'll be strange because Jeff won a mug, a coffee mug.
I had to clear out a new cabinet.
A new cabinet just for that one.
So many damn mugs.
See, I only have one. Maybe it's because I don't win much, but in 10 years, Jeff's going to be looking at that mug. He's not going to really remember the match all that well. He's going to be looking there
I was second at Western States.
Like, or Thea's going to be looking at, Daddy, you got second at Western States? That's really cool, Dad. You got second. And just like, oh, man, I was good. Like, I was really good. And I should have taken his mug from him and taken my knife and scratched a 4 in this.
Right. Just fourth place overall.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's interesting.
Something that the match did well, and it's really one person at the match, the person in charge of stats, and that is I did not stick around for awards. There was not an award for 50th place or for, I don't know, whatever master I was. I didn't even shoot the most deltas, just to be clear. I shot 24 and somebody out there shot 42. Like, I had no superlative, right? Like, nothing. I wasn't the slowest. I didn't shoot the most deltas. I wasn't the worst M. I wasn't, like, I was just there, right? So I'm driving down the road to go get some tasty Ethiopian food, because when you're from Maine, if you leave Maine, you eat as many different foods as you can, because we don't do different foods in Maine. We just do food. So driving down the road to get to Scottsdale to eat some tasty Ethiopian food. And I get an email, and, you know, as one does, checks their email while driving, on the 202. And it says final scores are live, like the arbitration period starts now. And I saw the email came in like 22 minutes ago. And I'm driving there, and I'm thinking about my last stage, and I did really poorly, and like things went poorly for me. And I'm thinking as I'm driving, and I know the time of the stage winner, and I know Jeff's time on that stage, and I know your time on that stage. And I'm thinking about my mistakes, and I'm like, I can't find all the seconds for my mistakes between your guys' time and my time. I just can't do it. So I pull up the Practice Score Competitor app, and I see that 3.82 seconds after my last shot, there's a time entry. And I definitely did not stand there and take a makeup at 3.82 seconds. So I knee drive, I screenshot that, I circle it with a little highlighter tool on my phone, and I email it back to the stats person, and I say, listen, this match is not important to my ego. You don't need to correct this, but just let the record reflect that that's not a makeup shot I took. That's a timer knock, 3.82 seconds after my last shot. And then about 10 minutes later, I get an email back from Annette that says, I went and I found the RO from that stage, and he confirmed that was correct. You did not fire a makeup shot there, and we've changed your time back.
That's crazy that he remembered.
That's amazing. Too. Well, no, it's just amazing to me that they would fix it based on like correct information, but still. And it also made me think, I got to stop hitting approve. I have approved so many scores that have a delta I didn't shoot, or a no shoot, or the wrong time, especially with AMG timers. Those things are so sensitive to a timer knock, and then if they pulled a time, anyone who's out there, before you hit approve, make sure the time is right.
Well,
I know that, and I still don't do it.
It has made us very aware, being able to go back and see the splits in practice score. Like, it has made us so much more aware of all these scoring errors that we have, of people getting time added to them, that I think there's probably a good discussion to be had that, hey, ask for your last split every time. Like, RO, can you tell me what my last split was before the time gets recorded? Because you know pretty easily if there's a timer knock, like, you know, like, no, even if I shot slow, it was a 1 second transition to a piece of steel. Like, there's a big difference in that and a 3 second, you know, timer knock when the gun holsters or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I've gotten pretty diligent at checking them, regardless of how terrible the run is. I've gotten pretty diligent at looking, okay, Charlie's, Deltas, Mike's, because I did have an extra one at this match that I looked at it and I was like, where was the third mic? And they were like, oh, there was only two. It fixed it for me. So
See, there you go. This was the last stage, the last shot. It's like, mentally I'm done. You know, it's like, I need to get out of here. Got a kid waiting in the car for me.
Yeah. Approve.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm usually mad after almost every stage I ever shoot. I'm usually pretty upset. So I'm very much I just want to hit the approve button as quick as I can. And I don't want to look at my score because I'm pretty disgusted with it. But yeah, there's probably a lot to be said about, I mean, heck, Scott Brown, first stage of Nationals, Ironside Nationals last year, right? He had 6 seconds added to it. I think it was 6 seconds, but it was a lot added to his first time. And
would that have cost him the match?
Man, it would have made the match a lot different.
It would have made it a lot closer.
I don't know if it, because I mean, it's hard to say as far as if he coasted at the end. Like, you know, he had a pretty good lead. I don't know how it would have changed his mentality, but it would have changed it. Would have made it a whole lot different.
Right. Yeah.
And we do know of matches, like, concretely, matches that the result has changed because of a timer knock.
Yeah.
Thanks to the status. So like that happens, and
Yep.
it can. Yeah. Next time I'll actually pay attention, no matter how frustrated I am.
Yeah, I mean, it
Yeah.
certainly pays a lot to
Yeah,
to be aware of that.
a good way to avoid it, I know there's probably not many like of the old school ROs that listen to this, but a good way to avoid it is when you're ROing to like hold the timer out front here and just watch it going up as they're shooting, and then last shot you take a glance at it before you put it behind your back.
On an AMG, if you press any button, it'll freeze the time too. Any button other than go.
Which is a
go.
bit
So the
sketchy in
little
itself.
Yeah, that's a little
You can do that on the CED too.
really.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can do it at the point where they go to unload and show clear. You can freeze the
Right.
time there.
But if you accidentally, if you
If you do it before they're done shooting, you're gonna have to reshoot them. Yes.
Ooh.
Yeah, so that's the sketchy part of that.
Yeah.
It can bite you.
Yeah, I
can
really
bite you
like
couple ways.
to just hold the timer out front, like between me and the shooter, so I can see the shooter and see the timer counting up. Yeah, I think it's
Well,
always
yeah,
worked really well.
Because you want to confirm that it's getting the last shot as well. You
Yeah.
want to confirm it's not getting too many shots, but that also that it's picking up the last shot too. Especially PCC. Like I always do that. I don't run a whole lot of shooters, but if I'm running a PCC, I'm watching that timer
Yeah.
as much as I can.
I'm usually crowding them and getting pretty close to the ejection port.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, I've had to
Nice.
reshoot too many PCC shooters.
Have you
Just
tried
get-
to like
just get rid of
deflect the? Have you tried to like deflect the brass back into the chamber? with
No,
the
and I
timer?
have done that many times as well too, where I picked up a brass deflection on unload show clear, and then just backed the timer up and been like, "That's not your last shot. This is your last shot. You know, you did it in 20.21. It shows 23. That's your brass, like from unload show clear hitting it." Good times.
So
Also, the gully run. I know it was a shorter one than they typically do for Area 2, but to me, that's about the most fun you can have with shooting.
Yep.
Is running in a straight line, picking up fresh targets. You wouldn't want to do it all day, every day, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
yeah, it was pretty fun.
I love stages like that. Anytime the match can do it, and I think it can be done even on a typical standard bay, especially if you have a longer one. I really wish these ranges that have like you go to a match in a range and it has 100-yard bay, like they're using like a rifle line bay, right? But then they just take that and then they stuff a little tiny stage right at the very back of it. It's like, man, like you guys have such a cool opportunity to make like a really big stage here. I don't want to do a whole match of stages that big, but you have an opportunity to do a really cool stage here. You don't have to make 100 yards of running. I'm not saying do that, but you could do some cool stuff with it.
And you can do
100
great distance change ups. Really close target, and then you come into the last position, you're steamed, and now there's, a 25-yard target just sitting out there.
Yeah.
100-meter hurdles, Jeremy. That's what we ought to do.
Did you see
The
me
fit
try to lift
special.
my knees? Did you see me try to lift my knees when I was just trying to run in a straight line? Much less if you put something in front of me that I have to try to jump over. It's going to be
Yeah.
scary.
No, but I did like the jungle run. I especially liked the like actual trees and bushes that were in it, right?
Yeah.
So, because I ended up shooting a target like directly through a bush.
Oh yeah. Yep.
That was kind of
that
cool.
was the only target that was the only target I called correctly. As soon as I was done shooting that stage, I turned to Bob Crow and I'm like, that's the first target I've actually called using my sights because I knew where the target was, and then I called it on my sights. I couldn't see the target because I shot it through a bush, and it was 2 alpha, right? But it's like I knew it was good because I knew where the target was and I paid attention to my sights. It's like, man, why didn't I not do that to the other 317 targets?
Because it's hard.
Yeah, and I actually had on that stage, I had the RO was paying super close attention to the timer on my run because I fired my last shot was a makeup shot on like a 5-yard zebra, and as soon as I finished shooting, he looked at me and he was like, "That makeup shot cost you being sub 20 on that stage." I was like, "Cool." Cool, man.
Thanks,
Appreciate
buddy.
that. Thanks.
Yeah, the ROs on that stage were very interested in who had like the fastest time on the just fastest time on the stage,
Yeah.
which is
fun.
interesting. It was fun. It was a good.
And they
stage,
had Target defended by Choya.
Yes, yes, they did. Potato had an interesting experience with Choyo, jumping Choyo out there,
Oh yeah.
and he basically just buried his little 8-year-old kid in it. 8, right? Is he 8?
11.
10? Oh, 11.
11.
Oops. Sorry.
It's okay. He's not a listener.
But he basically just threw him into the jumping Choyo and let him, hey, just deal with it, kid. Then some weird, strange lady had a fork in her fanny pack, I guess, and pulled him out for him.
Wow.
Something
like that.
Did I nail it?
Pretty much. I mean, he had like 3 big patches through his shirt and pants, like embedded in his skin. And another hiker walked by, and she had her and her sister, and they had a fork for removing Cactus. And they're like, "Yeah, always hike with a fork around here." Because every time you try and hold on to it with anything else, you would also get stabbed.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah. The only way would be like hemostats, maybe. But a fork, I hadn't thought of a fork, but that'd be a good idea.
Like a normal fork?
Yeah, just a metal fork. She just sort of, spread it around some of the needles and popped it off. It's just when you actually touch it, because it's on all sides. If you touch it, you try and find a spot without needles, and you move a little bit, then you get stabbed.
Gotcha. So it comes off like it sticks to you in chunks or something?
Yep.
Gotcha.
With, 10 to 50 needles just sticking in you.
Yeah. Okay.
And a big heavy chunk of cactus hanging off of it.
All those little pods will break. That's why they call it jumping, because they'll break off, and it seems like they jump.
Really?
It's like, how did they get up here? They don't actually jump, but they'll break off. That's how they.
You brush against it, and it comes with you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Quite painful too. Quite painful. We have Choyo here at my house, but they're not like those. Those look like, from a distance, they look all pillowy and soft, because they look like this white stuff that's all around it. It makes it look almost like a marshmallow. But all that white stuff that you see is nothing but needles. Like it's just so many needles. It's impressive, actually.
It does look like it's kind of a fuzzy. It looks like a dandelion, right? Like a dandelion seed. You're like, oh, it's fluffy and puffy. No.
Nice.
It's not. So I don't think
there's a little hardcover parcel guarded by one of those.
Yeah. I got nabbed with it because it was really close to the backside of the target, and somebody, I think it was a zebra, but they shot it. So I went to reach and grab some black tape on the backside, and wasn't paying attention. Just jammed my hand right into that thing. It was like, okay, I just jabbed like 3 points into me, and Potato's kid had like 40 of those needles stuck in him, and yeah, that would have been a bad day for my kid. I can know that.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Not a good day.
That would have been a bad day. Lots of ice cream would have been consumed after that. I don't think we've said it. Nils did win. I don't know if we've said that. Nils won. Bob Crow.
It was kind of a shocking upset.
Yeah, it was really big surprise. The Nils won. A big, not quite as a crushing defeat as last year, in that nobody was over 90% last year, and this year I think there was one person over 90%. I think that was Bob Crow. Bob Crow was 90.08%.
Yeah. Yeah.
So hey, it's at least over 90%. And then Paul Clark Jr. shot a really great match. So he was third, and then our beloved Jeff was fourth.
Somehow, dude.
Okay, let's talk about your match, Jeff, because I mean you haven't shot since Ipswich Nationals. Like you didn't. Yeah. You shot 11 rounds, so you have not shot a gun since Ipswich Nationals.
Yeah.
You were dry firing a bit like during December. You actually dry firing quite a bit in December, but then the Coon Crack Shack took over your life after the first of the year. So you've been working on that Coon Crack Shack.
Yeah. Yep.
In all your spare time. So
true.
So then you go up there, and I mean, you do some really bozo stuff. Like you have 2 stages where you did some really boneheaded stuff. The rust doesn't really account for that. But but other than that, like you actually shot really, really well.
No, I actually shot awesome, in my opinion.
Yeah.
For like, yeah,
Oh,
I
even
shot great.
you don't need to give a qualify. You don't even need to say I shot great for even having not practiced. Like even if you had practiced a lot, you
Yeah,
shot great,
yeah,
right?
I did. Well, I mean, yeah, minus the stages where I completely jacked things up, but like the stages I shot well, like they were on par with how I would have shot trained up. The stages that I shot well.
Yeah. I mean, quite frankly, it's better shooting than you did. You kind of flipped a switch at IPSC Nationals. Like it was better. You did a lot
Yeah.
better shooting here than even any of the other matches you shot last year, outside of maybe IPSC Nationals.
Yeah. So I kind of hope that I get to train this year. I mean, we'll see what happens.
I mean, you're the one who has control over that, so
Yeah. We'll see what happens. You know, there is like life and stuff, but um because yeah, like you said, like I kind of flipped something at IPSC. And we talked about it like when I just decided I was going to shoot fast and just like
mm-hmm.
risk it for the biscuit at that match.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just kind of shot this one the same way. And I kind of feel invincible. Um, like I was thinking about it after we talked about it, and I was like, I've developed one of two things. Like somehow, I've either developed like some leprechaun level luck, right? So it's just like extremely lucky, or I've developed like god tier index to where it's just like I look at a target and I can hit it. Because we talked about it, like me shooting those steel and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like we both of you together thinking about this. Like, how many makeups did I have on steel at this match?
3.
3.
I mean, it wasn't a lot,
Yeah.
and there was a lot of steel. It wasn't like there was only like one per stage or something like that. There was quite a bit of steel.
No, there's
Right.
40 pieces of steel in the match.
Yeah.
Not quite.
Yeah. Like tons of
We're actually
steel.
close.
And
53.
shot-
There's 53 pieces of steel. Somebody counted. And his name is Mike.
yeah, so like I shot ridiculous on steel as far as like how hard I was aiming at it. Like I just wasn't. I was just looking at it and it was going down. And it was kind of the same story at IPSC. It was kind of the same deal. It was like I would hit that stuff while I was still like in a pretty good run, like coming into positions, hitting mini poppers and stuff like that. So I don't really know what's happened or what's going on or why I've been able to do that, or if that luck is going to run out and the next match is going to be real bad.
Well, and your
'cause I'll
points were even better than IPSC here.
Yeah, they
You
were.
shot good points here.
did.
You know, you had a lot of Charlies, but like you, and in your mics, like you concentrated them in the same places. You had a nice little mirrored mic on hardcover, and the
Yeah.
you know, but I mean, you weren't shooting deltas, so wherever you were
Right,
looking, it was
yeah.
clearly like the middle of the target.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I don't
as
think
far
it's
as-
luck. I don't think that's luck. I don't think the luck works like that. I don't think you can shoot 11 out of 14 stages lucky. That's just not how math works.
I mean, if you're really lucky,
I mean, so what Jeff told me, we were talking about a stage that he had a bobble earlier in the stage, and it came into an array it was an 8-round array with 2 mini poppers. They weren't super far, but it's 8 rounds. You have 1 extra, and they're mini poppers. And he had a kind of a screw up at the position right before that, so he's just raging going into that. I don't remember what happened.
I had a magazine hang up, so I couldn't get the
Oh,
slide to
okay.
close.
That's right.
Right before the last 2 positions.
Yeah, over insertion on a slide lock reload.
Mm-hmm.
And so then he just comes in that position and just absolutely just rails basically as fast as Jeff Cawthon can go, and hooks up and hits it right. And
pretty much as fast as I could pull the trigger. I shot like 3 papers, 2 minis, and I think at least one of those was a partial. Maybe 2 of them.
No, that last position was open.
They were
Maybe
all
one.
open?
I thought it was 3 open targets.
I think at least one of them
What
was
stage?
So it was the stage that it was an L shaped, and you could either run all the way to the left and end up coming to the back and ending on the far back, or you start on the right side and you went
It's
down that.
it's the one that I think it's the one your foot hung up on the wall, Potato.
Oh yeah, okay. I actually have a nice bruise on my chest. Still, like a big yellow brown patch from running into that wall.
Okay.
And what's awesome is, as I told Jess or somebody at the beginning of the stage when we were walking, oh yeah, I'm gonna leave this position. I'm gonna nail that wall.
You manifested it.
Right? Steve Anderson would be very proud of me, man. Like I
Yeah.
programmed that.
Yeah.
I manifested.
So
Okay, yes, I remember. Yes, when you came into that last position, it is open. There's one partial, and the 2 steel, and so the only port, which you finished on the left port, and so
Yeah.
there is a partial, 2 steel, 2 opens, and so it's the
Gotcha.
only 8-round position, because the other sort of front position is kind of 6, and the first port is 6 through that little doorway. And so you came in there, and you shot the partial like it was open, and then you shot the 2 pieces of steel like it was one open target, and then you finished on the last 2 opens. And it was one continuous 8-round string of fire. That was magical.
So
I think I
but
shrieked.
It was
Well,
something.
I
yeah,
definitely
so-
shrieked.
and Jeff did, like, he shot kind of several arrays like that, but that was just the specific one we're talking about. And we're in the car ride on the way home, and say, like, man, like, you just freaking railed on that. He said, yeah, I kind of just shot all that intuitively. I didn't see my sights at all on any of those shots. I just shot, and it hooked up. It's like, dude, like, that's an 8-round position with 2 minis and a partial, and you just shot it completely intuitively. Um, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know what to say about that. Like,
Yeah, it was kind of
I
like
don't think it's. I disbelieve him, but carry on.
I mean, I was looking at where I wanted to hit, right? Like I wasn't just like looking at the berm over there and just shooting, but I was looking at each target when I wanted to hit it. But as far as like there being some sort of side alignment, I mean I don't remember there being any sort of side alignment. I probably
But
saw
if you're shooting that fast and if you're shooting that fast and you're shooting well, you shouldn't process. Then this is theory, clearly not practice. You shouldn't process any sight alignment. You should only error monitor. Like if it's wrong, you're like, hey, that didn't look good, and you go back and you clean it up. But if you're just sort of in that, you're shooting faster than you can think.
Yeah, I agree, but yeah, I don't remember seeing a whole lot there, and I do remember being like thinking when I went in there, and I was like, like I was planning on going in there and basically shooting as fast as I could pull the trigger on all 8 of those, and I was like, I was thinking I got 1 makeup, so I'm gonna run all these targets, and then I'm gonna go back, and if there's something left, I'll take it out. So I was already planning the final shot, and then I finished, and I was like, oh, cool, don't have to use it. But yeah, that would have been a really great stage without like the 5-second.
What stage number was that? That I can't remember.
I don't remember what stage it was. I think it was on our day 2. I think it was day 2. Maybe our second stage of day 2, which would have made it stage 4. It might have been stage 4.
Yeah, I don't remember. Don't know. That was fun though. That was really fun to like finish a stage like that. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah,
I feel like Jeremy also raged on that stage through that same port.
I mean, I shot it. I shot it okay, but I didn't shoot at Jeff's speed. I was aiming. I remember seeing my sights.
I mean,
some of them weren't in the middle of the target. I remember seeing that too, but I do remember seeing my sights and pausing at least, like, oh, that's not on the steel yet. Okay, now it's on the steel. I can try to pull straight back.
Yeah. Yeah, that one was pretty wild. That was fun. Okay, Dixon says stage 4 had 4 steel, 2 hardcover targets.
That's probably correct. Yeah.
And you did have a makeup in your last position, Jeremy.
Yeah, I did.
You came back to the partial that you had entered on through the port and cleaned it up with your last shot, I think, or you stayed on it for 3. I can't remember. Something.
Do you have competitor wrap up? You got competitor?
I do now.
Can you see
your
my
transitions onto the steel were 30s,
Mhm.
and then your transitions onto the paper were 20s, and your splits were 20s.
I mean, 20s is
And
as fast as I can pull the trigger.
And Jeremy's transitions were 35, 38 on the steel, but then he was shooting 19s and then 14s on his last. I think I came up to him afterwards and I was like, "Your gun just does this," but they're both there.
Yeah, look.
Do you remember that, Jeremy? Because it did.
I do.
Because I watched it through that port, and when you shot that 14, there were 2 great shots. Like they're just vertically right there. It's like, bah!
Yeah, look, I am.
Look, guys.
We don't really want to talk about my shooting because I don't want to like depress people. But
You
I'm
had a
battling
very
all sorts
strong
of-
day 2. If you shot the whole match like you did day 2, you would have finished right up where you think you belong.
Oh yeah, no, I had a good day 2. First stage of day 2 was train wreck, but the last 4 were all really solid.
Which was the opposite of IPSC, right? Didn't you have like a pretty solid day 1 and then
That was the opposite of every match. Every match I shot last year, I dropped places.
You had
on
rough
the
day
second
twos.
day. Yep. Every match I shot last year. Now this year, I had a penalty on my first 4 stages or 5 stages
Yeah.
of this match.
Yeah.
You did. And we're like,
So-
is this the stage where he doesn't shoot a penalty? Nope, not this one.
Yeah,
And then like
yeah.
next stage, I'm like, is this the one? This is the one where he doesn't shoot a penalty. No, not this one.
So it was. I mean, it was a pretty
It took
rough,
till standards for you to stop shooting
rough
penalties.
start. Yeah, it was a rough start to the season, from that standpoint.
Yeah.
But
We shot a similar day 1, you and I did.
I mean, I wouldn't.
Because I shot 4 mics on day 1.
You had 4. I had 5.
And
And a no shoot.
That's your
Yeah.
home mics for the match or day 1.
Yeah. And I loaded a dummy round in my gun.
I mean, I wasn't gonna bring it
That
up.
was magical. That was just amazing. I'm
First
so
stage.
impressed it actually extracted.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I regularly extract them, so they do that.
Yeah, but you chew off the rim and like eventually they stop extracting and like the lead was
Yeah.
totally exposed and pounded in. There was not much bullet sticking out. I mean, it was like a well-traveled dummy round. That round has hit the floor a couple thousand times.
Yeah, and a feed ramp a few times.
Oh, there's
That
no
one-
way. Yeah, I was afraid. I don't even know how it chambered. Like it was half a bullet, totally flat.
That one was special.
Yeah, so
it
I
was
actually
a full wad cutter.
So if Jess hadn't picked that round up off the ground and tried to make a joke out of it, like, "Oh, this came out of your gun," I could have shot like guilt-free, right? I could have just thought, "Oh yeah, there was some bad primers." I could have chalked it up to the Fiocchis, whatever. But yeah, I get done shooting and she comes up to me making a joke and is like, "Oh, no wonder it didn't go off," and kind of hands me the bullet.
She thought she just found a random trash bullet on the bay.
But I immediately recognized it. I was like, "Oh yeah, that's my dummy round." And I was like, "You got to be kidding me!" And then she was like, "What?" Yeah. So I did somehow. I guess I was dry firing that morning, and had dummy rounds in, and then I just stuffed the bullets in on top of it. Because it wasn't until it wasn't right off the bat. It was like the second
Like
or
the
third
third round
magazine.
in.
Was it the third round in?
It was like the third round in.
Oh, okay.
So,
So it
I
was-
think you somehow dumped it into your pile of bullets. I don't know if you're pulling them out of a ammo box or what.
I just have no idea how I did that. Maybe I was holding it in my hand while I was loading, and then I just happened to switch it. I don't know. I have no idea. But I put a dummy round. I loaded into my mag, and that's how my first stage started. followed by 4 mics. Yeah, it was a great first day.
That was your second stage, though, the dummy round, wasn't it?
Was it? Was it second? No.
Yeah, it was your second stage. It was with the activator and the 2 dropouts.
No.
It was his first stage.
Yeah, it was first stage.
Yeah.
Because it didn't we... Okay. Oh, but that is stage 8. It's the stage numbers changed. We did start on 8.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
You spent 4 seconds clearing that out, which is honestly not that bad.
Shoot. I mean, I racked and then went back up to shoot and it didn't go. And then I had to like rack again. So I probably had a couple dummy rounds in there.
Yeah, you had 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you shot 7 shots, reloaded, shot 2, and then had a 4.46 second figuring that one out.
Okay, so it was in the second mag. Yeah.
I mean, I spent 17 seconds failing to taking over-inserted magazine out. That was painful.
17.
If you over-insert a magazine hard enough, then the over-insertion stop that prevents that gets jammed really, really well in the bottom of the magazine. Most people don't know that because I don't think they reload with enough conviction.
Is that what they call it?
Something like that.
Yeah, so that's how your day started, right?
Yeah.
And then you picked up stage wins by the end of that.
Yeah. It was I had a lot of fun, dude. I had a lot of fun. Didn't let that shit get to me. Just had fun with it. Raged. And I had a blast. I was tired after that match, but it was fun. A lot of fun.
Yeah, Jeff had a nice little nappy poo on the way home.
How long was that nap?
I was working like 2 hours of sleep. Got up. Jeff's like, "We're leaving at 5." Okay.
I mean, yeah, I'm surprised that was safe on so many levels.
Safe?
That's how metabolism works.
It actually wasn't. It actually wasn't too bad till the afternoon. When Jeff was napping, I was taking a little nap too. It was all right.
See, all right, Jeremy. I wondered this because I woke up and you were acting really weird. I was
tired, bro.
I was like, is this dude, has he been sleeping? Like, what's going on? This guy's acting weird.
Close my eyes for a little bit. I'm just going to count to 3 and then I'll open my eyes. If I hit the rumble strips, I have to open my eyes. It's totally okay.
I didn't think
75 on the highway, it'll be fine.
I didn't think I was acting weird at all, but I was probably quiet. I was tired. But Jeff had to drive after that. Jeff did pull a pretty neat trick. I hadn't thought about doing this. I may try it next time if we're meeting in Oklahoma and then driving on after that. So like before Jeff drove to my house Thursday night and then we got up Friday morning, and drove the rest of the way. So I told him, I said, "Hey, we're taking your truck." I didn't want to take my car. "We're taking your truck." So he gets there. It's like late at night. I said, "Are we taking your truck?" Because I was gonna put some stuff in. He's like, I mean, we can't, but I got a whole lot of stuff in it. We're gonna have to unload. Like, I got a bunch of tools and like a saw and like I gotta unload stuff. We can do that if you want to unload stuff, but we can take my truck. It'll be all right. We gotta do a bunch of work first. No, we'll just take my car. That's fine.
So the trick is show up with a car full of junk.
Yes.
And then you get to use the other person's car.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of extra work on the front end because you got to load your truck up with a bunch of shit, but it'll save you some miles.
It pays for itself quick.
It keeps those miles low on the linglongs. So that's the important part.
Yeah, the eBay specials.
Yeah, got to keep those linglongs, which is what Jeff's tires are. They're literally linglongs. That's the brand name of tires that he has on his truck.
Yeah, they're working great, man. Dude, I mean, how can you pass that up? It's worth an experiment. I have 34-inch tires on my truck. Like, they're not small. It's like $650 for a set of those tires. Dude, if they last 10,000 miles, it's worth it.
And they're mid-pack Mike approved. He got $70K out of his work truck with those.
Holy shit.
Just feel like I just won the lottery here.
I'm gonna load up. I'm gonna load my shop up with them. Just have like 5 sets of them sitting in there.
Have some snow tires, have some racing tires, put some slicks on it. Just get all of them.
Those are a great deal, dude. Great deal.
What
eBay.
happened with your match, Jeremy?
I mean, like,
after the 5 mics and the first 5 stages, but then what happened?
Mhm.
well, it was still a bit of a dumpster fire. After that, there were the last 4 stages of the match. It's like, you know, of people that play golf, like you play terrible, and then like on the 18th hole, like you just absolutely flush like a 4-iron,
Mhm.
and it's like, dude, this is like, that's like the greatest feeling in the world, like to flush a long iron, and you're like, okay, I want to come back and golf again. That's kind of what the last 4 stages were for me. It was like, dude, the first day was, I've had some bad matches in recent memory, and that was probably worse than any of them. It was bad.
You actually had 4 okay stages. You're just blanking them out. We shot 8 stages, and 4 of your stages were fine. I mean, your standards wasn't to write home about, but it wasn't bad. In the context of the match, it was fine.
No,
and then you have 3
standards.
other stages that were fine.
Yeah, standards was okay. Yeah, I had a couple.
Your last
other...
stage of day 1 was fine. Stage 2, the stages down on the bottom bay, 13 and 14 were fine.
Yeah, the little tiny stages were okay.
One of them was like a 21 rounder.
That's a little.
Man, don't just count the positive.
Uh,
That's half the day. You're like, the day is like the worst day ever, and I'm like, yeah, but you shot 8 stages and 4 of them you did well on.
dude,
like,
it was pretty bad. Like if you looked at results and where I was standing, it was pretty ugly.
What did he
day
place
1.
on those? It wasn't bad.
88%, 89%, 87%, 88%.
Yeah, it was great.
Between 3rd and 6th, yeah, on all of those.
On
So it
those
actually
stages, yeah.
overperformed his overall placement.
Yeah, but if you look at like my first 4 stages of the match, it was somewhat shocking, the percentage difference in my day 2 like percentages and the average percentages on day 1, because it was like some 60%, 70%.
Oh yeah.
And then you go to day 2 and it was a lot. It was more like low 90s, upper 80s. My last stage actually shot the last stage really well. It ended up being a 73%, but that was because Nils just absolutely crushed the curve on it.
He did nuts, dude.
He did just Nils things. And
Yeah,
I'm so happy I got to see that. I won't tell the story on this podcast. I'm so happy I got to see that, especially because Jeff like lined up and hit like a walk-off homer. Right? He's like, I need to like cover this small gap on Paul and Bob Crow. I need to win this stage. He was shooting before Bob, and and Jeff was like, I'm going to shoot a different plan than everybody else. And I'm just going to do Jeff things, and he did, and he had a stage win on it. Right? Walk-off homer. He didn't quite get the points he needed. He would be like half a point back instead of 4 points back or whatever he finished. But he got really close. Right? He did everything in his control. And then Nils is like, yeah, I'm going to show off now. And put Jeff back 15%. So Jeff's stage win became whatever, like an 85%. That was pretty cool.
Nils was in the unique position that he's been in.
He did not need to shoot his last stage.
Yeah, more than once shooting with us. Whereas like he rolls up to the last stage and he's like, I don't need to shoot this to win. So I'm just gonna mop the floor with everybody on it. And that's how I'm gonna end the day. And then he just does something crazy and shoots it ridiculous. And that's what he did.
Yeah,
and he spent more time preparing for that than any other stage. He rehearsed that more. He walked it more. So it's like, it's not like, oh, I'll just flip the switch. It's like, no, I'll put in the mental work to deliver on that level. And then I'll take a really big risk, which is aggressively backing out on a port on 2 minis that are, 12, 15 yards by the time you're done shooting them, so that I can blend a position. And then his hits on them were, a third of a diameter of a 40 round, right? Like, he took some risks and pulled it off, but it's not just like flip a switch or like shift. It's work, right?
Crazy thing was to shave like
2.6 seconds off your time.
Yeah, like almost 3 seconds off.
You guys shot at the same time, like 1667 for you and like 1672 for Jeremy. You guys both went sort of flat out. It was a good stage.
I was faster. I was just sloppier.
Oh, you were 500ths faster than Jeff.
I think it was more than that. I think I was.
Really?
I thought I was like 16:29. That's what sticks in my head.
Really? Is that what's in your head? I mean, that could be true. Jeff was 1667. Jeremy was 1672. No, I was correct the first time. And I don't know why I ever doubted myself. Jeff was 500 faster than you. As I said originally. Carry on. And then Nils found 2.6 seconds on that.
Which is crazy.
So we were sitting there and talking to Nils, and it was like, yeah, you don't have to shoot. I was like, yeah, okay, so I want to see a 13-second run on that. And Nils sitting there like, I don't think there's he asked me what'd you run it in? I was like, I don't know, 16 and a half or something like that. He's like, I don't think there's a 13. I don't think 13's there. And he said, but we'll see. And he ran it in 14:10.
So he told me and Bob that he was going to do it in 14. Like he figured out a plan where based on he called exactly that time. I mean, he was within a tenth at the time he called, based on what he would have to do. Like he just knows what's possible and what he'll have to do, and he's like, all right, and shoot in 14 seconds.
Yeah, pretty crazy.
It was crazy. That Nils, one thing. I mean, he can do a lot of things I can't do. Let's be clear. But one thing he can do very well that I cannot do, or I don't try to do anyway, is shoot backing out of positions. Like, even if I can do it, the struggle for me is remembering to do it. So like
you're shooting, so you finish shooting, then you move.
Yeah. So I can shoot, like I'm really good at shooting into positions, shooting early, shooting before I'm there. But it's like I shoot all the way in and then I'm like, oh, I'm done. I guess I'll go to the next position. So I think there's a lot of time in my shooting to be made there if I can learn how to manage that. But Nils does it incredibly well.
But it's such a high risk thing because if you shoot into a position and you make a mistake, you're there. If you shoot out of a position and you make a mistake, you're gone.
Then you just one-hand it. You just one-hand it.
Yes,
potato.
And I did see that a couple of times. You just leave the gun out there. Hey, you have trigger freeze, it's fine. Just one-hand it. And then I saw somebody else do that and put a hole through the wall and get a mic. There's layers and layers.
There are. Yeah, but I mean, like what Jeff did here. What Bob Crow was in the same situation. He hadn't shot or trained anything since Ipsy. So I think he practiced once. And yeah, what you guys can do, like with no training, like it's somewhat frustrating because like I can't do that. Like even if I train, obviously I got beat by both of you. I mean, I hadn't.
Well, and you preached the gospel of Bob Crow for so long, and now that I got to see it firsthand, I'm like, oh, that's why Jeremy thinks it's so cool. Like, here's a guy who hasn't really, shot for 1 week since last November, and not a lot, and he knows exactly what he can do. He can identify what he needs to do, what the risks are for him, pick a plan that plays to his specific strengths, a lot like Jeff, and then just do that and not do more and not do less and like make a mistake and get right back on program. I mean, he's really cerebral, but also really machine-like. It's super cool to see. I see why you're such a super fan, Jeremy.
Yeah, he's a talented dude.
And the guy.
Well, it's from knowing. It's like knowing exactly what you can do and trying to do that. Like, there's no hoping. There's not like planning to do things you want to have happen.
Right.
Or doing less than you can do. Right? Which, it's really easy to go back and forth between like planning to do more than you can do and that not working well. And so then you plan to do less than you can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bob he's very much one of those people that, like you said, he knows what he can do and he's going to do it. And if it goes how he wants it to, then he's happy with that run. Like, regardless of what the time is, really. And like he always shoots pretty good points, but like even if he has a couple bad points, like if he ran that stage how he wanted to without a bunch of hiccups, like he's good with that run. And I think a lot of people would shoot, including Jeremy, if you could shoot that way to where like if it was just a good run, which you had good runs, and when you finished, you're like, yeah, that was good. I'm happy with that. You would shoot better, I think.
Oh yeah, but did
But
you
you
see?
you
I
run
don't
it,
have I don't
you
have
have
that many good runs.
like one of the fastest freaking times, and you're like, freaking 2 deltas, and it's just felt like a piece of shit.
It was usually more than 2 deltas, I think. But yeah, like I don't know what to say.
You
But-
need some. You need some Steve Anderson. You need some mental management, Jeremy.
I don't.
You're
I
the
don't
prime
want that in my
candidate.
life. I don't want
You're
that in
the
my life.
prime candidate. Well, that's why you need it, right?
Oh,
We never want
jeez.
what's good for us.
Yeah, yeah, something like that.
If broccoli
no, I
tastes
mean,
like tiramisu, I'd eat more of it.
I do think like you guys said something that was pretty interesting. Like Bob is very aware of what he's capable of doing, and he does that more often than not. He does that, and the more trained up, obviously, he can get rid of some of those little hiccups that he sometimes has.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm very much more aware of what I can't do. Like like that ends up being more prevalent in my mind. I know very much what I can't do, or I know where it's likely for me to screw up, and so then oftentimes I do screw up. But yeah, I'm also a little bit like I'm a bit downer right now. I've live fired twice since Western States, and it's been absolute dumpster fires both times. Like just like I couldn't couldn't do anything. And so yeah, like I'm a little bit frustrated with shooting in general at the moment. Hopefully we've got, I don't know, 5 weeks left before IPSC Nationals. Hopefully we can get things figured out before then. We'll see.
That's plenty of time to turn things around.
Yeah, or maybe I just won't shoot until then, and then we'll see how that goes.
You could try that as well. What does dumpster fire practice like?
I've never had a dumpster fire practice. Like I literally don't know what that means. Explain that.
Well, also like you haven't been practicing, so how do you like your first week or two back practicing?
I mean, I practiced some before Western States.
But why would you call like just getting started in the season and it's not going the way you think it should? Like, why do you think that's a dumpster fire?
Well, I mean, just like I don't know how to explain. I don't think you guys can. Maybe I don't think you can relate to, because what you did just with zero training, zero dry fire, zero nothing. It's not like you were. Like if I did that, I'd be freaking throwing mags on trying to make reloads. I actually did.
You don't know that. You actually don't
I
know that. You might shoot really, really cleanly and subconsciously, and just sort of shoot within the safe parameters. How do you know?
Because I have taken off seasons and I've never come back and had even a practice session like where I start back and it's like, oh,
well, did you have a practice session? Skip the practice session. Go straight to the major match.
Okay,
cut those out.
It's the practice that's ruining you, man.
Yeah, it may be true. It may be true, but yeah, just absolutely cannot control the gun, and it's and shots are going everywhere. Second shots like just dipping them like crazy, or just missing altogether. Just really bad.
All right, well, come on down to Ada and we'll get some training in.
Which
come up to Maine. The snow's melting. We can.
Jeff's training is. I think he wants his crack shack trimmed out, and so he wants me to come there and trim his track shack.
Bring a tile saw, and we'll get some training done.
I have that.
But you can shoot up all my 45 because I don't want to ever see it again.
I don't want to shoot that 200 power factor stuff. That's gonna break my wrist.
I wouldn't. Yeah. When I went home and I picked up my normal guns, which is all I've shot this last week, and I went to the range Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And Jeff, do you remember after your year, you were much more successful with the Canic than I was with the 1911. But do you remember after your year, you like 18 months, you shot that Canic, and then you put it down, you picked up your 1911. Do you remember how magical it felt? Like, oh, this gun just does what I want it to do.
Yeah.
It's like coming home. It's like you're putting on like
Mhm.
clothes that are actually comfortable. Like you've been wearing like weird like dress shoes and like your feet are all like crimped up and like the pants don't fit or whatever. It's like you just come home and you put on pajamas. It's like I picked up my normal guns and it's like, okay, I'm still bad at all the things I'm bad at, but I can actually walk and chew gum at the same time, right? Like we're shooting the 1911s. Like it was just the sense of incapacity because I just don't know what's going on. I just don't intuitively, and I just don't have the training miles to have that kind of connection to the gun. And I don't get that just by picking up a gun. I get that through incredibly large volumes of repetition. I got my normal guns, and it's like, okay, I can do this. I can actually shoot just fine.
I think that has a lot to do, especially with people that started the sport a little bit later in life. Whatever you mostly got trained up on shooting, I think you'll like that's going to feel like home essentially for a while. I think it's going to take a long period of time away from that platform for it not to feel like home. It's just my
I think I would have to dedicate a full year plus to shooting irons in 1911s to really feel, maybe longer. I think it would 3 take 3 months of dry fire.
Yeah, I think it'd take longer. I shot the Canic for 18 months, dude. And I picked
and
up
it still never felt like home.
And I dry fired the 1911 like a week after that, and I was like, "Oh yeah, this is already way better than I was ever able to handle the Canic."
3 minutes. I picked up my CZs when I on Monday. I came home, flew home last week on Monday night, and get home. It's 11 o'clock at night, and I go into my gun room and I pick up my CZs and I put on the CZ belt. I just do a couple of loads, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is easy. Everything's right where I want it to be.
Yeah, you didn't waste any time getting back home, did you?
Well, I have been trying to get used to shooting the punishing recoil of 9mm minor.
Hey, I do appreciate. I appreciate you picking up the single stack and coming out to Western States, Potato. That was awesome. I really enjoyed it. So thank you.
Oh, I can't wait to do it again. Next time I'm going to learn how to use iron sights though first. Or just get like your phenomenal index. You don't need to use your sights and you just think and the steel falls over.
Just look at it real hard. Yeah. That's all you got to do.
You got that gunfighter stare, man.
It was incredible. Another great trip in the books, man.
It was a good trip. We ate a lot. We had all you can eat sushi, and everybody was quitting, and I kind of wanted a couple more. I kind of wanted to eat more, but everybody was quitting, so I was like, well, I guess I won't.
Yeah,
I wish I had gone with you because I would have gone for another round. I'm always good for another round of sushi.
Oh, dude, we ate a lot of sushi. Barrow's Pizza in Queen Creek is their meat. I don't know what they called it, but it's basically a meat lover's pizza. It was excellent. It was quite good.
Yeah. We go to this Barrow's place, and I didn't look at the menu. And Jeremy was like, "Yeah, what?" He was like the meat wagon or something like that. he was like, "Just get us a meat wagon, a large meat wagon." I was like, "Is that really the name of it, or am I gonna walk up there and just look like an idiot? Just be like, give me a meat wagon." Yeah, but it was good. It was
quite excellent. So I can definitely recommend that for all of you who are there for IPSC Nationals coming up. Shout out to Shooters Connection. My buddy Bob did tell me that he used the link on our YouTube channel to make an order from Shooters Connection today. So be like Bob, use our link.
Be like Bob.
And order stuff from Shooters Connection. They sponsor all sorts of matches, sponsor the show, which is great. And their shipping is always super fast. And yeah, shoot matches, have fun with your buddies, and try to shoot the center of the target more than you shoot the edge of the target, and you'll be happier.
And hopefully you walk away, or you come away from this episode with a little more positive vibes than the last one,
Yeah.
But still the deep-seated belief that everything wrong with the world is personified in Jeff Cawthon.
Yes, that is a truth. That is a truth of the world.
And he is so unapproachable on the range. Now I get what people are talking about. Like, he is off in Jeff land, and I don't think he means you violence, but he has this look,
Dude.
that says,
Okay.
I wish a motherfucker would try, right? Like, he has that look, like, all day long. Like, he's
Okay.
just waiting to show you his unloaded start, and he's going to put 3 in you because you said hi.
Okay. On that subject,
Not even kidding.
This is like we're way past due, and I got to get up early tomorrow. But Potato, you were there actually. So we were back at some people's house, just chilling around, had a little fire, enjoying some drinks and stuff, and everybody's kind of chatting and talking. And Jeff did not say a word that entire night. Like,
I didn't want to pick on him for this, but it's like, now I know why Jeremy goes on long car rides with Jeff and goes on a podcast with him, because those are the only 2 times Jeff talks. You could hang out with him for a week, and the guy says like 3 words, and it might be like water.
Right.
3 hours.
Yes.
I sat outside that fire, and he said nothing. It's like, was he asleep with his eyes open? Like,
Nope.
What's the weather like in Jeffland? Who knows?
He was wide awake, and he was tired. That pumpkin was turned into a pumpkin seed, and if he's tired, he's done. Like, he just can't. You know how like little kids, like if they get like super tired, like they just shut down.
I do.
That's
Yeah.
Jeff.
That's me.
Like,
I brought one with me to the match.
Yeah. Well, I brought one with me to the match too, and he reached.
Yours
his
is
limit.
much better at shooting than mine.
Yeah. But so Jeff, do you have anything you want to say to like our host for that night, or the other people there that night, or anything like that?
I had a great evening. That evening, all right, I'll defend myself on both these occasions. I don't know if it's a defense, maybe just an explanation. On the range, I do like to talk to people. I just get in the zone. Like, I'm on the range, I'm thinking about the stage. Usually I'm thinking about 10 different ways I'm going to run the stage, and I usually don't have that figured out until shortly before I run it. So I'm just kind of in the zone. I'm trying to decide, am I going to shoot this array left or right, middle to left or right? I'm just thinking about everything, and I'm in the zone. So yeah, that's the reason for the stone cold look on the range. Yeah, at the that evening after the match, I'm an introvert, man. I am like a hardcore introvert, and that doesn't mean I don't like to talk to people. Okay, what that means is when I'm done, I'm done. When the energy's gone, I got no words. No, it's not coming. I'm done. So it's not that I'm not enjoying hearing everybody talk and being in your company. It's just that I'm drained. I got nothing to say, and I'm not going to force it. So just let me exist, okay? Just let me exist and be in your company. That's all. That's all I got.
That's actually an incorrect assessment of his personality. He got it wrong. Because he actually told me something different on the car ride.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did. He said, so it's really like, yes, he was tired, but also he has like a people quota. Like if the group size gets more than like 3 or 4 people, then he's just gonna like he's just out.
Well,
like he's gonna let other people carry the conversation.
Yeah,
and he's gonna just sink away from it.
Well, that's
My
the thing.
wife
It's
does
like
that. Like, she
I
uses
won't-
up all her peoples, and then she's done.
Yeah, I won't get like socially drained if I'm with like 3 people, right? I can exist in that small group and still conversate and contribute to the conversation, and I can do that for an entire evening. When the group grows larger than that, then it the introvertedness comes through, and it's like, okay, I'm socially exhausted.
And so I'm hearing this correctly, and this is a great note to end on. Jeff would have been happy and talkative until I showed up.
Yeah, you met that once.
Basically,
once that
I
quota
hit
was
that
met.
threshold. And it's like, nope, there's too many people here.
Yep,
There's
Yep.
someone's Nana and me, and boom, done.
that's right. That's right. It was all over at that point.
No, I really enjoyed being there with everybody. So Hopefully nobody felt like I hated them or didn't want to be there, but
I think Nick was worried
Nick was worried.
because Nick even he was like, "Dude, this guy hasn't said 5 words the whole night."
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's just Jeff.
Yeah,
I barely even noticed it. It's like, this is Jeff being Jeff.
exactly.
I
Exactly.
was sitting next to him. It was unavoidable.
Yeah.
It's like I got Bob on my right, happy to talk about anything. Really valuable guy. I got Jeff on my left. The brick wall.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
That's great.
That's how it goes.
Wouldn't even eat my coconut macaroons.
He's watching his figure. All right. Well, that was a good one. Potato, thanks for coming on, as always. Thanks for coming to shoot the match. Coming to shoot single stack a bit. I need to get a limited optics gun built at some point. I'll come shoot against you. I'm going to still
You
use
absolutely should do that. That'll be fun.
1911 pattern platform. Maybe I can handle. Maybe that's what I need. I need lots of rounds. I need an easy sighting system, and I need low recoil. And maybe then I can be a good shooter again.
You think you're kidding? You might rediscover some serious joy. You'll get to go crazy Jeremy fast, and you won't be punished by running out of rounds.
I don't want to find joy in cheating. It's like taking the easy way out. All right. Thank you guys for listening. We will catch you on the next episode of the Hit Factor podcast.
Yes.